Welcome to another episode of Reseller Evolution. My name is Scott.
And I'm Carl.
And we are just pumped.
Yes. We just had an interesting pre-show discussion to get our energy up and our testosterone running and our adrenaline running. And now we're just going to calmly talk about reselling.
Carl walked away twice. I walked away 3 times. And we just thought it better and we kept coming back. But no, not at all. But Carl and I always have these conversations every now and then. So
oh, yeah. And then we calm
fun.
down and then we're good. We're good.
But no, that's what I won't even get into the topics, but I'll just say I enjoy being able to have a conversation with someone who may not agree with what I say for whatever unknown reason, but honestly, that you can just put it to the side and agree to disagree and go on. You know what I mean? Like,
and the funny thing is people are just going to assume we were talking about like the election last night, and it was totally not even about the election.
It's not about the election. I wasn't even going to bring up the word election because I know that was going to open up a 3-hour
people
show.
are going to think that we're fighting about that. It's like nothing to do with that. It's funny.
No. We're just we're going off on a tangent, but it's always fun because you know what? You just kind of throw your thoughts out there, and sometimes you can. Like, I know Carl does this quite often. He realizes how right I was, but
I could not get Scott to say I was right about something, even though he looked it up himself. But that's okay. You know, I understand that. You know,
a broken clock is right twice a day, Carl.
Well, I've been broken a lot then.
So you're right twice a day.
Yes, well,
for a lot of days. But how
was your week, Scott?
How was my week? My week was interesting. There was a lot of stuff. I think I kind of had a couple days that really made eBay pretty decent. The booth had a really slow Sunday, but I haven't found out if the day was Sunday for the store or just me, because I tried sometimes I just get overstocked with a certain type of item. In this case, it was like action figures and different things. So I tried to make it a pulp culture style booth, and I don't know if that's harmed me. You know what I mean? Like, because now although it's an eclectic array of action figures, DVDs, VHS, you know, that kind of stuff, I'm not sure if it kind of still just goes to one type of person, and which hurt me, or if the store was just slow on Sunday. Saturday was a good day. So I'm still trying to kind of figure that kind of stuff out. Hopefully it's not the booth, but I can quickly go in there, add a lot of different stuff to it, and kind of make it into an eclectic thing again. Yeah, and Canada Post still hasn't gone into strike mode, but that's kind of changing up how much I'm listing or what I'm listing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I'm not even paying attention.
To the degree that the toy soldiers are on hold right now, because I don't want people ordering 30 or 40, then they get stuck in the mail. You know what I mean? However, talking to Canada Post people, there are apparently 2 unions. One is the delivery portion and one is the offices. So they're still to accept mail, I guess, unless they're going to put a hold on that. But the offices are open. It's the delivery that's going to go on strike.
So how far would it take you to drive to UPS or FedEx?
Well, okay. If I had to use FedEx or UPS, they're 5 minutes. They're no different than the post office.
Okay.
But I don't think they're as efficient and trustworthy. So would I trust them with a $100, $200 single item? 100%. No problem. I've done that before. Mm-hmm. Am I going to feel comfortable sending a $1,000 or $2,000 order of action figures, of the toy soldiers? No, because I don't want them broken. I don't want them lost. I don't want them delayed. Because I think if they get overwhelmed, so what is that doing? It's putting things on hold that I can put other stuff online. You know what I mean? temporary stalling on the
Oh,
soldiers.
oh, I see. Because you're worried about big group buys for the soldiers from
The
that
big
guy
group
or
buys,
other
because he's
people.
still out there
He's still
swarming
out there
around
waiting.
like a great white shark, swarming around waiting for these little soldiers to drop in the water. But
Okay.
like I sold a $400 camera that I paid $5 for at an estate
Yeah,
sale.
it's amazing, eh?
That was nice. I sold that. I took that out yesterday.
I
As
went
soon as
to
it
Value.
sold,
Yeah,
I packaged it up and drove it right to the post office, right?
yeah.
Because the other side is they got to give us 72 hours notice. So if it's going to the US, which I would say 75, 80% does,
Mm-hmm.
what that means is within 3 days, it's probably going to get out of the country. So the lady at the post office could not confirm that, but she said, just to let you know, things like this that are expedited, like we're really pushing the parcels out because they have a time guarantee on those and they don't want to have to be stuck paying a lot of people back because they didn't get there on time. So they're pushing the product very quickly, which
Yeah. Also,
I
it
thought
helps
was
if you have
interesting.
like 3-day handling. If you're really worried, you have 3-day handling, but you make sure you ship out every day. That will kind of give you some
Yeah,
buffer too, because
yeah,
like if there is a strike, and don't quote me on this, but if there's a strike, they could start with rotating strikes as well, right?
yeah. And
It
I think
won't
they would
necessarily be a full
probably,
work stoppage.
I don't think they would do a full stoppage, is my guess.
Yeah,
I think they would start doing something like that or kind of work to rule. So they're, you know, maybe doing 50% or, a 30% of what they normally would do. They would just
yeah.
do very slowly. So I think that option is there too. I just don't want to get into complaints and having to deal with that crap, right? Um,
Well, believe me, I don't want that stuff either. It's just that I'm not really worried about it yet until they actually give notice. But
well, it's
because in the
and
worst case scenario is I use UPS or FedEx.
yeah,
You
and
know,
it's not something that I'm worried about. Like I
yeah,
said, I'm still listing, but I'm just not going to deal with the toy soldiers,
yeah.
right?
That's an asterisk there. Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I've listed a few things. I got a lot of stuff in draft right now, so I'm going to start putting that stuff out. Uh, right. So it's not like I'm done with that, but I'm just being optimistically cautious and just kind of doing things differently. I got to get this stuff out anyways. I can't just do toy soldiers. I got other stuff here, so it's really not
Yeah,
a big deal.
and you can't give up on Q4 just because there might or may not be a slowdown.
This could go on for a month, dude,
Yeah,
or more, right?
that's why I'm not letting it affect me because it's like,
No, I'm just.
oh,
I think the toy soldiers are going to be sold whether it's Q4 or whenever. I think they're. It's
mhm.
probably better that I wait until a slower period because people are going to come in and buy those anyways.
The more evergreen kind of items. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. The perfect word. Perfect. Um, so it's probably that I'm doing this the way it is. But anyway, um, yeah, that camera, by the way, sold within like less than half an hour listing. Like it was
yeah.
a great camera.
I Cameras are good, but
Did
I'm
you?
afraid the market's going to collapse. Like, it's funny. Just yesterday, I went to Value Village. Go in $5. I think it was eight. And it's like a $150, $140 American camera. Like, bada bing, bada boom, right? It's
Yeah,
just, yeah, no, it's amazing if you're willing to put the time in. But yeah,
and it
cameras,
was an easy list. It's a digital one. It was a Canon.
yeah.
It was
The Canon I got yesterday. The only issue with the one I got yesterday is it doesn't have the charger, and I hate that.
well. This
Hate
came
it.
with the box, the charger.
Oh, nice.
It came with the battery. There was no SD card. I don't. No, there was no SD card, but that's fine.
Yeah, with
It,
the SD cards, I just say you need to buy your own, and
yeah,
that's never been a problem.
yeah.
But the charger is a problem.
But it came with the charger, and
Yeah,
it even came with a Canon case, which was
yeah,
not part of the box set, but it
yeah,
was part of what I paid, like what I bought.
yeah, yeah,
And they're usually about $10 to $15 for a used one with Canon on it, but it was a nice. It was had a little funky design to it.
yeah.
And I kind of threw that in, but I mean, $399.95, and it sold half an hour. No ask for discounts or nothing.
Oh, what about Adam? I thought you gave those things to Adam. Poor Adam.
So I did give Adam one. We went to the estate sale and we were there together, and I
Oh,
walked through it and I saw I saw two cameras on the shelf, right?
mm-hmm.
And I was carrying around a IKEA bag, and I said, "You want one?" So he picked up the film camera. He goes, "I like film cameras." He looked at it, And I said, well, look at the one I got. Cause I thought it was like maybe $150, $200 camera. And Adam's like, and it said $5. So I ended up did give him one. I think his was around $50. He said it was film camera. I didn't even take them out of the case, dude. They were like $5 a piece, and I just put them right
I
in a
know,
bag. I didn't
like
look
no
at it
brainer,
or
right?
anything. Just,
No, yeah, I don't know how. I'm a little jealous of your estate sales. Like here, that'd be like, I want $300 for that $20 camera. Like,
well, dude, don't
give
worry.
it
I
up.
paid up. Trust me, I did pay up
Okay,
for
I
something.
give it up on estate sales here. I just
Yeah.
like I get so angry, and it's like
Dude,
the
they're so
last.
plentiful with stuff here. I give my stuff to
I
Adam. I'm like,
know
here,
it's
buddy, you want
crazy.
one?
You
Honestly, I
bastard.
said. He goes, oh, I like film cameras. He picked it up, and then yeah.
Was this a? Can you say like this estate sale, was it private or was it public? Like, was it a company or was it private?
Um.
Say that?
So okay, without giving out names,
Yeah.
it's someone I know, right, that runs it.
Okay, but it's professionally run.
Yeah.
It
But
wasn't
so
family. Yeah.
yeah, so he is a very well-known person with antiques and old stuff, that kind of stuff. But this is an estate, so there's a mixture. But there was a lot of older stuff in there. Um,
Did you go on the first day?
I went on the first day. I was number 6, so doors open at 8. They were starting to hand out numbers at 7. I was there at 6:30, and there was already 3 people there.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, so at 10
Yeah.
to 7,
Yeah.
I got out of my truck because people were starting to walk to the front, and at 10 to 7, and I stood in line, and I was number 6. And I was actually number 7 because a woman got a number for her and her husband, and she felt that should belong to 2 of them, so they let them both in. You know what I mean? So technically, I was kind of number 7 person in. But most of the time, people walk by a lot of stuff that is newer, like the cameras and stuff. They are there for the old antique stuff, right? And these things, dude, they were sitting. I can't like
And they're
5, 6
priced.
people passed them before me, and they were sitting right on the counter, $5 each. I just boom,
They're
boom.
priced too, eh? Because often I find at the state sales,
Everything was priced. Yeah,
wow, it's so different. Like here, I find often there's don't get me wrong, there's some stuff priced, but
yeah.
if they price it, it's super expensive. If it's not priced, you don't know what you're going to get when you go to the front. Like I just
Well,
remember, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was at one. There was a video game manual, no video game in the case, nothing, just a manual,
yeah.
and the estate company wanted $10 for the stupid manual, and it's like the other guy was working with the company. He's like, "What are you doing?" It's like this isn't worth $10. Like the people working there were fighting with each other, and I
Yeah,
left. I'm not giving you $10 for this manual worth a buck or two at most.
yeah.
And that's but my point being, that's how it often I find it is here, at least with the estate sale. So much I gave up, and like you can go on the last day, but the last days are Sundays, and often I found when I went on Sundays there was nothing left, and yada yada
So
yada.
how this works is this guy's realistic. It's a 1-day sale, right?
Yeah.
So it's a 1-day sale. Sometimes there are 3 days, like over a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that kind of thing. This was a 1-day sale, so they're kind of priced to sell stuff at the same time. But how it worked was, for the most part, uh, doors open at 8, but by 1 o'clock, whatever's left, they were starting to get, you could put in offers, and if there was decent offers. So there was a book there, they were asking 300. It was an old Atlas book. Now I know they can go for $500 to $600. This was in pretty good shape. There was no pages missing, and I put in an offer of 250. When I went back at 1 o'clock, it was still there. So they said, if you want it, a 250, and I took it. I have it listed at 800, which I think is probably on the high side, but they're rare and they're desired.
That was a beautiful book.
I've
Yeah.
sold the, what's that?
You showed, that's the one you showed on Sunday night, right?
Yeah. So I sold the repops twice before, and one I got 200 for, and I got 125 for another one. And this is the original 1877 version. So seeing how they have sold in the past up to $600, I put $800 on eBay. I have not known anyone to sell them on eBay before.
They're
So I'm
pretty
kind of
big.
thinking, what's that?
It's a big book.
It's a big book, but it's well desired. Like, this
Oh
area
yeah.
is rich in history, and it's a
Yeah.
very historical. It's not just maps, but it has a lot of information about people and stores and different things at that time. So,
Yeah.
but like I said, I've sold the repops before as well.
Yeah.
So, remember that guy that came down and bought all those books for $2,000?
Yeah. I do remember that. Yeah.
He came down to buy the one book. I had 280 on it, and he ended up paying 200.
Okay.
Right, and that was the same style of book. That's what drew him here, and then he saw other books and ended up paying $2,000 for a bunch of stuff. So I've said that story a few times. So anyway, so and then I'm going back today to grab 3 lamps. They were ceiling lamps, but they're oil lamps, and they have nice brass chandelier type stuff. They have some crystals on them. They wanted $175 a piece. Now, he's not going to take $10 for them, right? But if you put in a decent offer, I couldn't find any solds on them, but I found the glass inserts were selling for 139 was kind of their average selling price. So I put in an offer. I said, I'll buy all 3 if I can have them for $100 a piece. They accepted the offer.
Sorry, how much was he asking again? 2 something
He
each?
was asking 175 a piece.
Okay, so
but the glass, I'm going to show them on Sunday night show, but the glass themselves are selling on eBay for 139. It's kind of your average. Some are like 100, 110, but then some are 150. But kind of the average was one. Like I saw a lot sold comps for 139. But it's just the glass, milk glass with hand paintings on them, kind of imagery. So, anyways, I got 3 of them. They're oil lamps. They hang from the ceiling. They're 1880s. And I saw listed ones for $800 and $900, but those are listed comps. So I said to them, listen, they want to get rid of this stuff. Nobody's buying. It's near the end of the day now. So I'm like, I'll do $100 a piece. And at the end of the day, if I have to just sell the glass part itself, I make my money back. If not, maybe I make a few more. So they were okay with that. So they had to take them out of the ceiling. So I'm going to go back. I paid for them, but I have to pick them up today. So that was an estate sale. There was a few other things. I bought a couple of paintings, lithographs. They're old prints in nice old frames. They're Victorian as well. So I got a really good deal on those. Paid $20 a piece. I think I'll get 85 to 100. I'm going to start at $100, see what happens. The frames are just so nice on them too. So that kind of stuff. Just your average week, I guess. I don't know. How was your week, Carl?
It was pretty uneventful, really. Sunday was fine at the booth. It's like that 70 to 80 range, maybe a little less actually, maybe 50 to 70. Yeah, I think learning more about like it's better to get rid of the thing and open up that space. I'm beginning to understand that a lot more rather than trying to get full price. Still needs to be busier there though. Like they said on the Facebook this week, they said, "Oh well, if you want more customers, we need to share this Facebook page with more people." But they not to do it, but they really need to do Instagram and stuff like that. Like they're kind of using old technology to try and promote their place. So
yeah. So how much did you say you made?
Like 50 to 60. So, but after fees, I probably broke even, right?
Yeah.
Especially fees, cost of goods, and all that stuff. So,
okay.
So like there's not enough traffic. What can I do?
That's what I'm saying too. About I have to see how the store did Sunday because that's the only way you can gauge it. And if you're gauging it based on low traffic, that ain't your fault, right? That's
I'm just
out of your control.
Like I don't want to be there and tell them how to run their business, right? As tempting as it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like if they're not going to make any changes to try and bring in more traffic, it's going to get worse and worse, right? Yeah. But that being said, the place is like fully booked, it's fully rented. So,
Yeah, so there's a lot of people with our disease out there.
Yeah. Or people being there forever too, eh? So
yeah.
I'm sure it's really hard to shut down your booth when you've been there for 20 years. And for a lot of people,
it becomes like a routine, right? It becomes something that's part of your life and you look forward to. Like,
yeah. And I like meeting people. Like this weekend, I met Serge. He came he was watching the show Sunday night.
Yep.
It's funny. His nickname is Pinhead. It's kind of funny because he does so many pins. So that was cool. It was neat meeting him and talk to him for a bit.
I like it when people get involved with the comments, and he was right in there. So that's awesome.
Oh yeah, that was great. And yeah, like I haven't. I haven't been sourcing a lot. Like I've been selling things here and there, but not going nuts. Like cameras have been selling well and stuff like that. But there's nothing too, it was a pretty nonchalant week, to be honest. Yeah, still good though. It's like the nice thing about like going and, I see my friend John, he's going to give me, his commissions. So he's going to give me a couple of those ceramic Christmas trees. So higher end ones. One has the music box on the bottom. So we'll see how that goes. I sold a shirt for him the other week, but it's been, not crazy. So I'll see him today. And yeah, that's about it. Like, the big elephant in the room has been the election, kind of sucking the energy out of everyone. So I'm glad that's over. And then we can hopefully go on with our lives.
Really? Like, what do you mean, like sucking the energy? Like, I honestly, I didn't really hear anybody talking about it around here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's the circles I'm in, but
No,
yeah,
well, you're in a very political area, right? Like it's Ottawa. That's the hub of Canadian politics. So you
true.
guys,
But I'm not even talking about people in Ottawa. I'm talking about outside. Like when I'm at the flea market, I will never ever talk politics.
oh, that's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, no, never,
Oh,
never, because
okay.
you're just going down a dark path,
Right,
no
right,
matter what side you're on. Like people bring it up with me, and I'll like depending on it, I'll say I'm not really political.
right. Okay.
But because it's gonna be bad no matter what. And you
That's
never know.
I was comparing your booth with your store with my store because that's what I thought you were referring to, and I was going to say nobody talks about it at the store.
No. Like
Okay,
people
okay,
pretty well stay away. Like
yeah,
which is smart, right? I don't
yeah.
want to mix business and politics. It's not going to be good. And politics isn't that important to me. I'm just saying it's been, not a big deal, but something
Well,
happening, right?
it is important in ways because, especially, like it depends how you look at it, and I don't want
Mhm.
to like sit here and get it political with choosing sides or anything, but a lot of people will say how it can affect the economy or whatever the situation. So I can understand people being passionate about it. But I agree with you where you can't really talk about it too much because, half the people are going to agree and the other half are going to disagree. And then it
Well, you
just
and I
ends
can
up,
fight about that stuff and then still be friends, 5 minutes later. But there's a lot of people that's not true, right?
right, right.
Both sides, both sides. So it's just
And, and it's ruined a lot of like families and all
yeah,
sorts of
yeah.
situations.
I don't
Right.
want any of
So,
that. I don't want any of
right.
that.
Exactly. So,
The only thing
um,
I'm worried about is like they've been talking a bit about a change to the minimus. I think it's called the minimus. Did we talk about this already? I can't remember. So you know how we can import up to $20 into Canada,
right.
and they can import up to 800 United States.
I
United
thought it started with a D, like a,
de minimis maybe or de
yeah,
minimis. Anyways,
diminis or something.
de
But
minimis.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So that $20 into Canada, then 800 United States into the United States. It's a little lopsided, like a
Yeah.
little bit, I must
Yeah.
admit. And they've been talking about changing that. So that's the only thing I'm a little nervous about changing because we do have it pretty good there. Don't tell it. Keep it quiet. But it's a little one-sided.
Well, I would say people can say whatever, like politicians can say whatever they want, but until actions are actions, like
Yes.
it's just talk. So,
And I
you know,
wanted to say just talk.
yeah.
Can you
So,
imagine how much that would affect us?
uh,
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to worry about it, but it
yeah,
is in the back of my head a little bit. Because it's real nice to ship things to the United States and not have to worry about complaints about that, right? So, but we'll see. I don't want to make any mountains out of molehills that haven't actually even occurred yet.
yeah.
What
All
are your
right.
plans for the coming week?
What I got? I mean, there might be an auction I might go to on Saturday. Haven't really decided yet. I think the best thing to do is probably work on what's here, but I may do that. I did go to a private pick as well. It was a little bit high end. The guy talked like he wanted to get rid of a lot of stuff, but he wanted me to pay for a lot of stuff, and I'm just listen. I'm not. That's not
Yeah,
what I do. You know what I mean? I
I've come
need.
across people want me to pay collecting value prices for their stuff. And it's like I'm not really interested in what the item is. I'm interested in reselling it, but they don't seem to get that because
Yeah,
they want what they paid for it. Oh, I just want what I paid for it.
yeah. So I made a mistake on a boat. I thought it was. was a
On a
tin
boat?
little boat made in Great Britain, and I thought it was worth more than what it is. So I'll make maybe 10, 15 bucks out of it, but I'm not doubling my money, which I was hoping. Um, I should have, the red flag should have went off when he was easily accepting what I had offered him on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a
But
little too quick. Yeah.
so, I mean, in some people's eyes, that's not a mistake. Other people would say that is a mistake. But if I still make a couple bucks, I make a couple bucks. So I'm not totally upset about it. But
Like I
definitely,
might pay up if it's something that like will draw attention to my booth. I could see doing that. Like
yeah.
if it's something really cool that people are gonna like, oh, what's that? Then maybe I'll play a little closer to what I'm gonna get. But
Yeah. There, and I bought a couple other things which I pay higher than I'd like to.
mm-hmm.
But it's that cool factor, like you said. Like I bought a Lincoln, it's a road grader, it's metal, it's orange, it has nice sticker on one side, and maybe a quarter of the sticker is chewed up on the other side, but
Yeah.
when you display it, you're going to show the nice side.
Which company?
um
Do you
I'll
remember?
probably get 85 for that.
Yeah.
They're going to take off 10 bucks, so I got 75. I paid 30 for it. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
I have 100 on it right now because it's Christmas, but after Christmas I'm going to drop it to 85.
Yeah.
um So I might wait till after January because people come in and buy stuff too. So, but there's none available in the store, right? Like
No.
a Lincoln, nice sticker, 1950s Lincoln pressed steel road grader. When I say nice pressed steel, I'm being very generous to the item because there is a lot of rusted spotting around it,
Mm.
which, okay, it's old. It is what it is, but it still has the nice sticker. So that's kind of what I'm going with. Um, but he wants me to come back, but the more I think about it, the more I just think it's a waste of time. He
What
has
do
a
you?
shed at
Yeah.
his brother's that's full. So maybe it's not a waste of time. He goes, I don't even know what's there. He goes, I'll be picking it just as much as you'll be picking it, like thing, right? So I'm like, whatever, dude. But he came to the store and he asked for someone to come out, so I went out. Forgot about that. I should have mentioned that too. But I bought some Snap-on clocks. I paid 25 bucks a piece. They're probably worth about 65 to in their shape. They're probably worth about 65 to 85. I have 125 on them in the booth right now because they're Snap-on. There's none around. It's pinup girls with a clock. It's nice old stuff. But after Christmas, I'm going to have to drop them to about 85 bucks. I'm just hoping I can grab. I got some wooden masks out of that place too. And the one, dude, I'm kind of rambling on here, but I'm just kind of recalling last week now. But I got a couple wooden masks out of the place too. And that I actually did pretty decent on. And there's one in there. I put $100 on it out of the booth. But I've seen comps, which I don't understand, go as high as 400.
Yeah. Those outlier comps or just like
No,
sometimes it's really
it's
hard to tell because it's like once in a
well,
while you
I
see
mean,
the
I
fluke
see them
one.
on Etsy, I see them on other sites, I see them
Yeah.
on eBay, I
Yeah.
see solds, and I see asking. But I also see a lot in the $100 range too, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it,
Masks, like carved masks are hard because it could be like,
but they got skeleton for crowns and stuff. They're kind of like
okay,
I think it came from DePaul or something like that. So, but
Nepal.
anyway, um, eh, somebody sent me a link where they're like it was like $700, and I've seen them as high as four myself. But then I see them like 185. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
That kind of thing. So I don't know where to go with it. I don't
Those are
know,
confusing. Yeah.
is one legit and one's a repop,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Or
And I'm
one
going
by
to
like
assume
a remote
mine's a
tribe and
repop.
one is like in the tourist town. Like they look the same to me, but there's slight differences and
Yeah.
or like
So I don't
yeah,
know what that difference is. So I put
that can drive me
$100 on it,
nuts.
and it'll
Yeah.
probably sell for $100. And I'd be very happy with $100 because I was kind of hoping around, maybe $60 a piece, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So anyway, there we go. Um,
Cool.
yeah. So I always like getting out there trying to buy some stuff. There could be some really cool opportunities coming up. I can't really discuss it right now
No.
because it it might be a pipe dream. It might be more of a dream than a reality, but I mean, I didn't bring up the possibility for it. So we'll see. If those things happen, I will definitely be letting the audience know. Um, and that's just kind of where I'm going, kind of rambling on. I don't really have anything else to say, Carl. Like, that's kind of where the week went, and it's just been very hectic and went by really quick.
Hey, not every week can be Toy Soldiers like Haul of the Year, you know?
Why not?
I wish.
Why can't it be? I'm so upset.
What I did a bit more this weekend too is pull stuff out of my booth that no one had looked at. So I'm gonna churn it over, I think. But nothing new there. Yep. Should we get into the comments?
Yeah.
Unless you want to add something else?
No, that's about it. I got to go pick up those lamp things today. So to go into the comments right now is good for me.
Okay.
And maybe, just maybe, we'll get this under 2 hours.
I know. Well, we'll see.
Okay. See if we can keep it into an hour. I don't know.
So we have 45 minutes to get 2 hours of show into it. So it should be interesting.
All right. So what do you want? Do you want to start first, or do you want me to?
How about you start first?
All right. Is it Don first?
Maybe.
Holy cripes! Is this Stephen King or is it Don? I don't know. It's a novel. I'm totally kidding. Okay, so I'll start here. It helps me when I do the editing part of it. You mean like adding links to the description? Wow, that's a hit below the bell already.
Well, I'm sure the links are there. I'll go, especially with Jamie on fire for the Sunday show. I'll go check later on.
Holy cow! I'm afraid. I'm nervous. What else is she gonna hammer me on? I'm just kidding. No, the links are always there. Don, what are you talking about? I don't know. Carl, back when I played WoW, I had a guitar name. Guitar name. Holy cow! Let me put my glasses on here. Right? I had a guild name, Wayward Red Shirts. What?
Awesome. You know, for the Expendables from Star Trek, they always wore the red shirts. So they're in WoW, nice. They were the red shirts. Yeah.
Okay.
Thankfully, I never got into WoW because I would have been highly addicted at one point in my life. But
I thought she was like, I didn't. I thought WoW was like, oh wow, and I'm like,
Warcraft, yes.
Yeah, World of Warcraft.
Man over here.
Wow. Also, Scott totally did a rural southern Western Ontario thing and pronounced Star Trek.
Oh, really?
Oh, well, I'm true to my roots. I laughed my ass off. My stepbrothers and stepmother say it like that too. And they are in Huron County. Wow. Very good. Maybe they're saying it right. I don't know. Sorry to hear the flea market booth hasn't been going too great lately, Carl. That is frustrating. Yeah, I feel sorry for that too. I'm kind of feel bad in the way that, like, and also that I don't know what's going on there. Like, it should be doing well, like, just in relation to other stuff, but
I don't feel bad because I'm learning a lot and I'm not bored yet. My main this is not my job, so this is my hobby. But also, like, if I was getting bored or resenting having to go in, that would be a different story. But no, I can pretty well entertain myself, and I know the people. I've made friends with the people around me too, and all that. So it's all good. But I do like money.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to, like I said, I keep trying to figure out, is it me or the market or a combo, right?
Obviously it's the market if nobody's there. So, and I'm glad to see you're hanging in there with positivity too, Carl.
That's awesome. You said January. I'll do to end of January and then I'm out.
If it doesn't pick up.
It has to pick up.
But glad you're not bored yet. I don't know if there are much similarities between that and eBay, but the last 2 years I sold more in January than I did in December. So weird. I agree.
Yep. Yeah. January is my best year. Usually my best month. October maybe might beat it often, but yeah, January is surprisingly really busy on eBay, more than December. Because I think in December, people, in my opinion, we lose like a week of where weird holiday stuff is happening, and no one's ordering just before December. But once Christmas is over, you know.
Yeah, I kind of find like the 10th to the 25th is slow, and then the 26th it picks right up.
Yeah, 26 exactly. Yeah, it's like I didn't get my toy. I want my toy.
uh, oh, where did I go here?
That's frustrating, but glad you're not bored yet.
Yep,
I don't know if there's.
I already read that. Yep.
Uh,
So I agree that people should quit shutting down so early. It totally does make it. Yeah, absolutely. It totally does make it look like the whole place is about to close, and then you're left there with even fewer customers, and they get trained to react to that too, right? That's the problem. I understand if it happens once in a while, if you're not feeling well or you have to be somewhere. But if it were me, I would treat it like a shift at any other kind of job and be there the length of time I committed to. Hopefully things improve. And I think I said this last show, but that's up
mhm.
to the owner to enforce that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it can be really frustrating because I said like, especially between 3 and 4, they can be like no one there. I was making bowling jokes last weekend. Like,
Yeah.
let's just start a bowling league here because it was between 3 and 4. Like, it's completely dead.
Yeah.
So, and even 2 to 3 isn't great. So, and it can be tiring being there, like especially because a lot of the people are older, right? Like some people are in their 80s.
Yeah.
So I can see being tired. I just frustrated a
Dude,
little
it
bit.
doesn't matter to me. I don't care how old you are. Like, if I was in my 80s, I'm going to have to stick it out because you're still like, you're still there representing the store and everyone else. You know what I mean? I would feel bad about doing that
Yeah.
because I wouldn't want to affect other people, just like I don't want other people to affect me. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
So,
why I'm a little frustrated with the booth next to me. With the, you know, they're never there, and then someone orders something from them, and you keep saying like, "Are they in? They in?" It's like, no, they're not in, and it's just awkward. But
and I just said it. I know what I mean. And somebody said it last week about, I think, I don't know who said it, but somebody said about me saying that. And man, did I ever say it a lot.
yeah,
When I went back and listened to the
100%.
show, I was saying it all the time. I'm like, that's so silly. What am I doing that for? But
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's
other
hard not to
people,
get into these like repetitive sentences.
I know it's brutal. Uh, are you reselling all those soldiers to the one guy and half the asking price? I guess go with your gut, but for me, it would depend on how badly I need the money, how much stuff. Well, okay, so he kind of took me for a bit of a ride because I just thought he was going to place one order, and all of a sudden it turned into like a gong show. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It turned into a gong show, and then he wanted more, and then he wanted more, and then I'm like, okay, this is enough's enough. You know what I
No
mean?
more
You
for
know what
you.
I'm saying?
No more soup for
You know what
you.
I mean? But
I
it
know
turned
what you
into a
mean.
gong show type
Yeah,
thing scenario, and this is what I'm saying. I don't want to do that, so now I gotta like, how do I ease back? Well, this Canada Post thing was a perfect
excuse.
excuse, right?
Yeah.
So I even said to him, like, listen, I'm going to stop listing these things. I might even have to put my store on vacation mode if they actually do go on strike. I said, you can Google it and read Canada Post strike. So I just kind of like slowly eased him into it, and we'll see what happens. But
Yeah, I 100%. I get 100%. I get where you're coming from, but it's funny. I remember I had this one customer who was very friendly and really nice, but he kept buying off of me, and it made me felt a little like, okay, you've bought enough from me. If
yeah,
that makes sense, it's weird. Such a weird thing. It's like,
well,
oh no, I have a repetitive customer paying me, but at the same time, it feels like I don't know. It feels weird. I can't even justify it.
yeah. So in one side, I want him there because eventually there's going to be soldiers that maybe I'm stuck with, and I want him to come and scoop those up. But I
But it's your
don't want him
premium
to
stuff.
scoop up the soldiers as a whole because there's some ones in there that I can sell for a lot higher.
Yes.
So I don't want him to
Welcome to the
totally go
dark side
away.
of
I just
greed.
want him to buy when I say it's okay to buy.
I know, I know, I know.
You know, and,
It's it,
and I honestly I don't even care if he buys. Just
yeah.
don't 20%, 15% discount. That's fine,
You've
but
read
don't
yeah,
sit
with
here
every
and
fair
expect to
customer.
get $30 on a $100 piece. You know what I mean? Like,
That is how I would feel too.
right? So
I
and
know.
maybe like we had this discussion. Maybe he doesn't feel like I don't know, but he's definitely
Maybe
taking
yeah,
advantage
exactly.
of my generosity now. So
Maybe from his perspective, he's like, "Oh, I'm buying all this guy's stuff. He must be really happy."
Yep. Yep.
blah blah blah.
Like,
So it's kind of hard to
okay,
tell. Like
so
we put
what?
thoughts of what they're thinking in our own heads, and it's not necessarily true. But I understand. Like if I was selling something for 100, I want to get like at least 80 or 75 or something, right? Not
Yeah,
60 or
and not
50.
everything he's buying was listed at 100. Some was at $65 or
Yeah,
$44, and he
no,
was buying it all for the same, just one low price.
yeah,
However, um, in perspective, he's maybe bought like maybe 100 items now, because he just did a purchase a couple days ago, which kind of were the last hanging around figures. I might have 5 or 6 left listed. So in perspective, I have 1,200 to 15 after the second buy. I'm like 1,200 to 1,500 soldiers, and he bought 100 of them. You know what I mean? So it, like, where do I, like, Scott? You're being just an idiot, or you know what? I agree with you. You got a point there. Like, what? Where do I? Where should I just say, like, you know what? I just got to be a little generous, but at the same time, he's paid almost for that 100 or less. He's paid almost as much as I did for the entire bunch. You know what I mean?
emotions don't always equal logic.
Right? So yeah. Well, it's not. It's a tough one, because I don't think it's emotions. I think it's like, I think I got a point. Like, if I got a car that's worth 100 grand, why am I going to sell it for 30 grand?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's not emotions. It's just, dude,
Right. Yeah. It's
listen, this
math.
is $100,000 car. I'll give it away
Like
for 80 grand, but I'm not going to take, like,
because
where do
he's
I
expecting it
draw
for
that line?
30 because you sold him the other cars for 30, right? But you don't
Right.
even know that. You're just assuming that.
Uh, he
Like if
might
you
think
said to
I'm
him,
really
you said,
happy and
I want to
everything.
get a bit more for these because blah blah blah. Like you could, what's it gonna do?
Yeah.
Say you had to take less because I said so. Like, but at the same time, it's hard to, you don't want to create issues. Like it's all, it gets icky, it gets sticky, and
So what I'm probably going to end up doing is just
yeah,
kind of like start listing them and just say, listen, like, these are kind of higher end ones. I want to kind of see where I can get for these. Like, other people are inquiring about them too. If they're up for a couple of weeks, I'd be more than happy to give you that type of discount. But let me just see what I can sell them for first. That kind of idea.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's going to come to that. So, um, but yeah, it's not like I need the money. Like, I always need money. I always want money, 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 money. But
Money.
yeah, it's not like I'm not able to go out and buy more stuff until I
No,
sell these soldiers. So
no.
that'll be. It's not about that, but trust me, it is about that too, right? You want that money.
Hey, this is how you make your living, right?
Yeah, yeah. And when am I going to come across this ever again? Probably never,
That's
right?
no. This is the biggest deal I think you've had since I've known you, except for the
Um,
books. The books
it's
are close.
the books were good, but
Yeah.
yeah, this is the biggest deal for sure. I don't even know if the books were really close. The books were good.
Mm-hmm.
I still got some of the books because I haven't got to them, but they're a different animal. They're heavy and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
too, right? So,
Yeah.
but both things, I made my money back and profit very quickly. So that was nice. But Carl, I got so many of those figures left. Like, it's mind boggling, really. Like, you know what I mean? And I said that on purpose. How much stuff I have taking up all my space, how well they are currently selling, which you said they are selling really well. They are selling well. I think if it was an in-person deal, I might be more willing to let them go for less if somebody is buying a whole bunch of them. And here's the other thing. He really has this tendency to buy in one order a lot. Like, he goes, I want to keep adding to this. Well, you know what, dude? I don't want to ship a lot, because a couple did break the first time because it was just so heavy. You know what I mean? You know what I'm
If he
saying?
wants combined shipping,
100%. What?
if he wants combined shipping, like the problem is your profit margin is good, but it's not like great because you're giving quite a bit of a discount. Like if it was great, I would just split it up and just still charge them one shipping cost, right? Because then I would take some of that great profit margin and move it, use that to pay for the shipping.
Well,
But
just figure his one order was over
because you don't have to ship it all in
$2,000.
one, right? You could
His
ship
one
it.
order was over $2,000.
Yeah, I would ship it in like 3 or 4 500 things or whatever. But
I tried to pack it all in one box, but
yeah,
hey, it worked. It got there.
it got
He
there.
said it. I packed it good,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I'm just saying what I would do. Like I would
yeah.
want to kind of split them. But
Um,
do you know if he had to pay import taxes?
he didn't. He didn't say about it. He didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. Maybe it just went through.
In this case, I might be upfront with him and say that you just listed them and you can only go down an X amount right now. Yeah, I'm just not even going to go down. But for sure, I'm going to have to say that for sure. Maybe ask him to check back with you in a few months. Yep, exactly. In this case, he can either wait or maybe get a better deal, but risk them being gone by then. Or buy them at your asking price or much smaller discount now and be guaranteed to get them. Long story long? Who knows? I know. No, those
Yeah.
all things are definitely good points and things I've considered for sure, Don. I'm with you, Carl, relisting this stuff rather than watching. I'm still distracted enough to write novels like this. Sorry about that, Don. But there are some channels where I feel the need to actually watch, so I don't really put them on while I'm working. So I appreciate that this is the audio. And I appreciate we're not putting you to sleep.
That's good. Because there is some podcasts I listen to go to sleep.
Yeah, really. I listen to this when I'm driving because it is the 2 hours, and I can, if I listen to 15 minutes and then a half an hour and then 20 minutes, like, so it works out good.
I think for the first time ever, I wasn't able to listen to our entire last episode before this one.
Oh, really?
My car was being funny. It wasn't letting me listen to the podcast last Sunday. It's like you've listened to enough. So it just refused to play. I was like, okay.
Wow.
I don't know what was up with that. I think maybe credit card or something. Who knows? Anyways, doesn't matter.
Someone is changing their entire store based on one podcast. I missed the podcast. It was Care to Share. I don't know who they were. It was a husband and wife type deal. And they weren't a big channel. They only had like 800 views or something after 2 or 3 days. But it was just, they made reference to that show and that guy and what was said. And they said that they took off 2,000 of their product off of eBay. I just thought it was like, I don't know if that's the right way to do it. That's all.
Desperation can sometimes make you do funny things too.
Yeah, and not understanding, or maybe, I don't know.
Trusting too much someone's opinion.
Yeah.
I get that sometimes. People said, you said this, Carl. I was like, oh, that was just my opinion. I don't necessarily know either. If you say something with enough confidence, though, people will totally believe you.
I would want to have that hanging over me if I was the podcaster and they fail. No, I agree. And I don't think they even know, right? They probably haven't even heard this, people that are talking about it. It just kind of popped up on my options. Although if they want to get rid of their ephemera, gimme. Nice, eh? Yeah, I agree. I have print ad as my first 2 words in my titles for those. I really don't think people listing are being deliberately hidden by eBay, though. Carl, I totally agree with you. eBay conspiracy theories, they drive me batty, too. Like, show me the evidence if they're going to make the claim. How hard is that? They said my mom and I have both removed a lot of listings all at once because we bought those items when we first started reselling. And they really were crap.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
But that's a different reason. That's because you're a newbie. Like, I've done that too, right? Or, you buy something just as it's going out of style, and then all of a sudden you're stuck with it.
Or sometimes you'll buy something and it's crap and you list it anyways because you don't like the fact you made a mistake. And of course, no one buys it because it's crap. And then eventually you get rid of it. Like, I bought some really roached cars yesterday that if they're in great condition would have been $15 each, but in their condition, they're worth not even $1. So it's like, I know I've put them in a lot before and listen. It's like, now I just donate them there. Even no one wants roached cars.
And you don't have any money in it. Like, sometimes it's worth just to give it for 50% off, and whether it's at the booth or and I'm not saying 50% off. I'm saying 50% from your asking price that you're not selling it for. So that's not really 50% off of nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you're not selling it at that price, so maybe it's only worth 50% of what you have it listed for. But to be able to,
but at the booth, it also takes up physical space that something else could be in.
Well, but what I'm saying is, like, for instance, I talked before about the gremlin that I have. Like, a gremlin is going to sell. It's just at what price, right?
Mm-hmm. But it's
So
still going to
if
sell.
it's in my booth for $30, but it's only worth $15 to $20, it ain't going to sell for $30. But it is a sellable item that'll sell very quickly, look good in the booth, doesn't take up much room, and somebody will give me 15-20 bucks for it for sure. You know what
Yeah,
I
as long
mean?
as it sells. It's the
Well,
unsellable item that's sitting there that you're still trying to get your quote unquote money out of. That's taking up physical spot space, right?
yeah. So
Like
you got to
like
judge
a
everything
couple,
on their own for sure.
like I had a bunch of Ben 10 figures in the booth,
Yeah.
and after 2 months, I've sold 0 of them. So
Yeah, but you haven't
eventually,
you
some
can't even judge that, Carl, because you don't haven't got anybody coming through your booth.
I know, but
Like
true,
that's
no, that's true. It's true. It's so hard to judge when you don't have enough data to make a
and
judgment.
sometimes things can sell based on season too. So maybe at Christmas people will buy those things.
Yeah,
You know, like a Ben 10, like I know what it is, but I don't know exactly what figure you're talking about, but I don't know if you got $5 or $10 on it and some kid likes it because they're out Christmas shopping and mom just
hmm
wants to buy it just to keep them occupied.
hmm
You know, it's like that bowling ball. It depends on who sees it when. You know what I mean?
yeah. The wooden bowling ball. Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
There's definitely that factor.
but if you got nobody going through your store,
You
like
know
I'm
what?
sure those action figures are good
Yeah,
to somebody, but they might not be the right item for my booth at that location. You know,
that's true too. I
right?
just
So,
trying different things and seeing what sticks on the wall a little bit because there's other stuff I can put in its place and just try it, right?
yeah.
Um, I think the one good thing is people do go in my booth and look around. I'm happy with that.
Well, if
So
there's people going there, that's traffic, right?
yeah, I was
So,
watching Antique Nomad a bit, and he was talking about how he displays his booths and stuff. And I need to get some lights and things
yeah,
just to grab
Antique
attention.
Nomad though, he is a different can of worms as far as where and what he sells, and he has knowledge of antiques. So to have that knowledge, like it's not just knowing what the item's worth, but it's knowing where to sell it too.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
And you have to have a following. Like there's a guy in our booth. I've mentioned his name before on this show. His name is Tim. I consider him a mentor because I've learned so much from that guy. So
right.
he has a following. People come to the store just to get to his booth and buy stuff.
I want to be
And he
that
can
guy.
ask a premium because
Yeah,
he's like the coin guy that you know.
yeah.
He has people come because he's either bought some stuff at an estate or from someone that's well known that collects this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or nobody in Southern Ontario has this certain jar or bottle but Tim, and they want it for their collection. They've heard it through the grapevine. So he can get that premium because he has that following. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I think Antique Nomad's that same type of guy.
he
He
is.
also has a following through his social media where he can show his stuff off.
He's
So
also
I
been
think,
doing this since he's 15, and I don't know how old he is now, but he must be at least 60, I think,
well,
somewhere in there.
so I'm gonna say that he has the ability to ask for premium stuff and put
Mhm.
certain stuff in his booth that I can't do because I don't have that following or that knowledge.
Yep,
You know
yep,
what I mean?
yep.
So it's hard to compare with some of those guys. I understand. I look at those things too. I'm not saying, hey Carl, don't look at those guys. That's not what I'm saying. I do the same thing. I like looking at the different. I think
Well, I was looking at the way he
that's how you
displays.
learn. But
Yeah,
I'm just saying I can't compare myself to someone like
no,
that because I'm not in that
league.
level,
Yeah,
right?
league is
So
the wrong word.
league, right?
No, league is the wrong word. More like that's not your market.
That's not my market.
It's like the guys outside and who set up the boost for one day. They're not selling that. They might have that stuff on it, happen to have that stuff, but they're not really. That's not their market. It's, they chosen to pick it a different clientele or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But
So
for Nomad, it was interesting. I was just looking at how he's displaying stuff. He was talking about like where to put things, what groupings to make, what color groupings. Is that was the stuff I was kind of watching, which is nice if you have a slightly bigger booth where you can choose, right? I was just mentioning it.
Yeah.
And something I wanted to say. Oh, yeah, okay, but it's not really related.
And he has a very Florida influence, which I think just that in its loan on its own,
Mm-hmm.
like he's not going to find a beaver rug that might sell for $1,000 in Canada. He's not going to be able to sell that in Florida. But we're not going to be
Yeah,
able to sell. We're not going to be able to sell an old rug with flamingos on it for $1,000 in Canada, but they probably could in Florida. And I'm being very extreme, but that's the kind of difference too, right? Like,
I don't know where he is because at one point he definitely was in Florida, right? But lately he's been talking about like going into like Vancouver and stuff like that. So
oh,
I know,
really?
yeah. So I don't know if he moved or what. Like, not that it really matters to the podcast, but
No, I think he has booths throughout. Like, I think he travels the
he
U.S.
does travel a lot. Yeah,
because I know he was in Kentucky for a while.
yeah.
He does a lot of discussion about Florida, but then he does estate sales in some other location that's
Mm-hmm.
far from those other two. Um, so I think the nomad part speaks for itself,
Oh,
right?
duh. Yeah, of course. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So he just that's what he does, right? So
No, Jesus, I'm dumb.
it's all right, Carl.
Thanks.
I'm just
Hey,
kidding.
can I bring up something else completely unrelated?
You sure can.
So I have this like cool CD telephone booth tower thing. And one thing I discovered is like, well, I already kind of knew, but when you move things so people can actually see them, they might actually be interested in the stuff. Can you believe that? Anywho, so I had $60 on this thing. I paid $5 for it. And this person offered me 30. She said, "Oh, well, would you take 30 for it?" So I'm asking 60, asked 30, and I said, "Well, I'd do 40." Okay. And they went, "Okay, we'll think about it," which means no. And they walked away. And then I asked the people around me what they thought of that scenario. And both the people I asked both said I would just laugh at that price. And because it's too much of a low ball, like 50% is too low of a low ball. And one person, here's the question I had. One person said, you have to be careful because if you get a reputation for taking low ball offers, all you'll get is low ball offers because word gets around.
Right.
And they won't pay more. Do you think that's true? She said that especially in small towns, that's true.
I don't think that's true.
No.
And here's why. I think that person, it might be true to that person that made that offer and got the offer. I think overall, it's not true. That person probably isn't going to tell anybody. That probably doesn't know.
Yeah, this was not a
Probably
dealer. This was just
probably doesn't even want others to know that because she's creating competition for herself. You know what I mean? Oh, if I go get a good deal from Carl, I don't want other people getting
Mhm.
a deal
Mhm.
because then if I want something, it's going to be gone before I get a chance to go there. But they can create that rapport with you in that, like, listen, last time you give me a pretty good deal on it, can I get that same kind of deal? Like, you're one of my favorite vendors here. I'll come here every week and I'll buy
I
from
buy
you.
these toy soldiers off you really cheap. Aren't you going to give me more for free or cheap?
Well, I did until the point where now I'm giving
Yeah.
away stuff that in you're choosing what you want to hear, Carl. But I did say if there's stuff lingering around, I'd be more than happy to drop the prices on that.
True. You did say
Right.
that. Yeah.
So this is where I'm going. This is the catch-22 thing, right?
Okay.
So before I saw how much these things were selling for, right? Like you're a different situation. Nobody's buying anything from your booth. So you want to create that.
The funny thing is when before I said that, I was like, am I going to be an ass or not? And then I was thinking of like, I sent Dawn a message saying, oh, I can be an ass sometimes. I just don't let it out. And it's just like, no, I'm going to let the ass out of it and see if Scott reacts.
Well, I don't want you letting your ass out, but what I would say is like speak your mind. I don't have a problem with that.
I know. That's why I felt it's like, I'm just going to say it.
No. I don't I've never had a problem with that. Sometimes I think like you think you're being an ass, but I don't. I
Mhm.
think it's a conversation. Like last time, I'm still boggled by the last
Uh-oh.
conversation we had about, you said you were being an ass, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like we're having a conversation. That's like so for you to say about the toy soldier thing, well, you're trying. Here's the thing, Carl. Here's the thing. This is
I'm
the thing.
listening. I'm
You
listening.
try to pigigenhole everything into a black and
Yeah.
white scenario,
Oh, that's so good. I love black and white scenarios.
but I try
True
to
false.
create the
1-0.
overall picture,
Yes.
right? Do I want this guy to go away? No, but do I want to have the cheese there, leave the carrot in front of the horse so that when I need him to buy stuff, he's there? That's where I'm trying to. Where do I find that balance? But you're just saying he either buys it for this price or he buys it for this price. There's no.
I hate gray. I
So
hate
I'm
gray.
I'm trying to play the 3D chess. I don't want a bad complaint. I don't want him to totally go away, but I only want him to come and buy the stuff that I want him to buy at the price that I'm willing to sell it for.
Oh man.
That's so I'm trying to go with that kind of thing. But you try to pigeonhole
I
everything
do.
into a block. I don't think
Mhm.
you're being an ass. I think you're expanding your thoughts. You're expanding
Oh
your
wow.
thoughts, right? And that's where I think we're going. So what you were saying, what you were saying is that just like the toy soldiers, well, there's no comparison. I have buyers for those soldiers. I'm not, geez, when's my next sell coming? When am I going to make another $50 to cover rent? I'm saying,
Oh, that burn you did where it's like, oh, you're gonna double your booth where you're gonna sell $60 of stuff.
no, but what I'm saying is he paid good money. He's like, he might even be close to $5,000 now, right? Because he bought some more that I just shipped out a couple days ago. But But my question is, I don't want him. Don't go away mad. Just go away for a bit. You know what I mean? Come
I
back later
do.
on. That's what I'm trying to create. There's a rapport here. So like maybe you could say to that lady, listen, I just brought this in. You know what I mean? I had to pay up a little bit for it. Why don't you come back next week? I'll give it to you for that price, but I'm struggling here, man. I'm struggling. You know what I mean? Let me just see if I can, I can do 40, but like I'm going to be taking too hard a hit at 30. But if you come back next week, maybe if it's still here, I'll give it to you for $30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they might say, listen, here's your 40. I feel so sorry for you. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
my Tesla.
And but dude, you paid $5 for this thing. You know what I mean? You got to
I know.
create some. You got to create. Also, you have to create some buzz around. Like when you put a thing into auction, there's that struggle. Well, I want $100 minimum for it, but do I start at $2, $50, or do I start at my $100? Because you want to create buzz around that item. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to create some buzz around the booth. You might have to sell everything. Hey, here's a 50% off on my booth. Everything on my booth is 50% off. Create some buzz. Get some people coming to your booth and knowing, hey, Carl's there. Sometimes he's got 50% off. Let's go check him out. You know, you got to create buzz. It's no different than Philly Flipper doing whatnot. He had to start at the bottom. Anyway, we all need to take information from some stuff we sold at yard sale auction and other stuff we got donated. But to remove thousands of items based on one episode of one podcast, yeah, I agree. A little crazy, eh? That's my comments there. I added in there, not Don's, but it is. I agree. I don't think it. I wouldn't have done it that way. We all need to take information from multiple sources and decide what works best for us, even if those people are going to attempt to emulate the dude's store exactly. The results will still not be the same. 100%. That's exactly. I agree. That's my example I said with Antique Nomad. You could sell the same thing that you can get something here in Canada. You can't get that same price in Florida. So
True that.
everything's going to be different based on where you are. I do agree that I have a sticker sourcing strategy will help overall, but getting it listed might be just as important, right, Carl?
Yeah.
A stricter sourcing strategy will help
Like, don't
overall.
buy crap. Or like,
I think
might be, don't buy stuff you're not going to list.
like I don't mind grabbing crap sometimes because I'm always surprised, but it's what I pay for is my strict strategy. I'm not saying it's right for everybody, but it's worked for me so far.
Yeah,
You know what
but
I mean?
when you're buying a bunch of crap, you're also like, you see things that might have potential value in there rather than things that are marginal. You know what I mean? Like I bought some car toys yesterday, and I ummed and awed over them, and then I realized when I got home, I was like, why did I buy these? It's like I tried to convince myself to do the buy because two of them were so roached that there's no value there. But I kind of convinced myself, oh, no, there's value there, and like I try to make as few mistakes like that as possible. But I'm not talking about like when you could buy a whole box of cars for $5, then it's worth the risk because there might be something good in there, especially if the stuff looks older, right? Even though you don't know. So like, I wouldn't be strict when buying that stuff, but yeah. Anywho.
But yes, absolutely. If you're taking advice from anywhere, recognize that most company comparisons are apples to oranges, and maybe discuss with people who sell successfully in your niche and area. I would add to that too.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I would say is never take advice from me. I always say that. Don't take my advice. I'm just telling you kind of my experiences and what has worked for me. But next year could be a different animal. I may totally change my style because it's not working for me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, if I run out of room again, my buying strategy is going to stop or change. Or if I have lots of room, you know what I mean? If I win the lottery, my buying strategy is going to be completely different than.
Or you just change your mind, right? You realize,
yeah, but it's enjoyable as well. But anyway, where am I going here? I wanted to say, for those lamps,
all right,
they're going to be big and bulky, but also I don't think they're going to be the Frankenstein box. I just think they're going to be a big box, right? For $800, I'll probably put like $40 shipping on them, because if you're paying $800, $40 for shipping isn't a big deal. And I think I just pack it like with a lot of bubble wrap and maybe double box the glass part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the glass part that's what I was going to mention. That's the bit of the
right. So I'll just bubble wrap that, put it in a box, and then put it into a bigger box. So it's going to be an oversized box rather than a Frankenstein box. So, and Frankenstein boxes are actually not as hard as they used to be, because now I got that box sizer type thing, and it is like a gold. It's a little piece of gold.
I know, right? I remember trying to convince, I think it was Matt from Jackass Retro. I was like, just get a box resizer. It just saves you so much time for the scoring.
Oh,
no,
dude, yeah.
It's one of those things I think you don't really realize until you used it, and you're like, oh my God,
yeah.
Why was they doing anything but this? Like before I got the box cutter, like a simple $5 box cutter, I was using scissors. And then I got to use the box cutter, like, you idiots.
Like, dude, Frankenstein box to me, I got like 5 centimeters on one side and 5 inches on the other. You know what I mean? It's like, how did I do that wrong? But with the box sizer, it's squared. It looks like a professionally done box.
I know.
But
it's in volume. Anyways, blah, blah, blah.
All right.
Get one.
Okay. I blame Randy. Laugh my ass off. Way to throw him under the bus, Carl. Expert on knobs. She liked the expert on knobs, too.
Yeah. I snuck that in, I think, last episode.
Yeah. And I said I am because I know you. Scott, do you call yourself the beaver picker? Yes. Do not call yourself the beaver picker. Oh, my God. Yeah, that would be interesting. Probably get banned off of YouTube.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. Don's made the comment.
She's making it all filthy.
All right, this 2-hour episode took me probably 4 hours to actually get through because I kept rewinding it. What is that, VCR? What are you talking about? But have a good week. All right.
Excellent.
Okay, thanks so much, Don, for the
yes,
for the comment. All right, Carl. Who's
doing
next?
It wrong? Scott, your store is good. Scott sells stuff is pretty easy to find. Yeah, and you spell it right too, which is nice. There's no reason to read all this on the next video. Too late now, and hopefully none of this kills your fun, my dude. But you can always try a few. Always try new things. Oh my God, it's a long one too. Instead of using pieces of foam board for your backdrop, it cuts your items in half visually. Take a single piece of the big white construction paper and curve it over the foam board. It will remove your seam. you see in many of your listings. I know you're trying to reduce it by using non-square photos, but this is just a way easier and faster.
What I'm using now isn't even supposed to be used for what they are signs that I made, and they just happen to have a white back, so I just been putting them up. Lighting is weird. So if I have a light, like a white background at the back, sometimes, depending on the color and the situation of each item, sometimes it darkens the front because the light is bouncing so hard off the back white that it makes it difficult. So I have to change things up there. For the soldiers, I started putting a white base like on the bottom with a black board on the back. And that's just to lessen the bounce of the light coming back. So I don't know. It seems to work to a degree on these things, mainly because they're smaller. But I don't disagree with you doing it wrong 100%. And I really have to probably change up. Like, I don't mind my photos right now. I'm actually pretty happy with them. But they do take a little heavy editing, especially lightening them up and changing it around. But I'll look into that for sure. It's just like little things that I just see as I get more experience.
Yeah, because
sorry about that.
What we're talking about like is a store critique. So that's what doing it wrong is doing here.
Well, he talked about the photos, right?
Yeah, that's the first part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's why he says, Scott, your store is good and it's easy to find. And then he's talking about the different things.
Yep.
So when something is in a standard size, putting a measurement in the title will increase your chances of someone noticing your listing. For example, the cedar salmon box could say 10-inch in the title. The foul shot mad ball could easily could say the diameter. Nowhere in the listing shows that it's full basketball size. The cast iron, paperweight, the dwarf on a turtle, etc. Yeah, so like some people use so it
doesn't say that in the actual written listing, but I'm pretty sure I have photos of rulers like next to a ruler to show.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Yeah.
But
like I keep a ruler right next to my light box and I just throw it, if it's appropriate, I throw it next to the item.
Yeah, and that's
cans for some reason, but you know.
Yeah, but sometimes I do get like, what's a measurement? And I'm like, well, it's in the photos. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. So, you know, he does have a point there that maybe it's just easier for the buyer to know rather than have to flick through the photos. But if I was going to buy something, I would think that I'm going to flick through all the photos. Like,
if it's like relevant, my second photo will have my first photo won't have the ruler in it. My second one will.
Yeah,
I don't want it at the end of my photos for sure. Especially for like figures and stuff, you want to show the height, like, or the general size, right? Yeah. But sometimes it's like my hands in the picture, so you can kind of tell. But yeah.
But I agree, doing it wrong. There's better ways to do that for sure. Cast iron, paperweight, the dwarf on the turtle, etc. Okay.
Yeah, especially for cast iron, you want to say the size. I would think that'd be important, especially when people are searching. If someone's searching for a horse figure or something like that, they're not necessarily searching for the size, but the size tells them quickly with them looking, oh, I'm interested in this or not.
So if somebody was to click on it, I think probably 85%. I mean, obviously I'm not going to do it with a camera or certain things, but if you go through the photos, you're going to see, it might be the last photo in a lot of cases, but you're going to see the ruler next to the item.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to each their own. I like having the second one because I like things being very clear.
Like, honestly, I think I've even put measurements in the description or the title, and people say, like, how big is this?
I know.
You know, it's just like, well, it's right there.
It's like you didn't read.
Okay, sorry. Go on.
Your titles are generally very good. Personally, I'd have rearranged some words, but I'm probably wrong. The general rule of thumb is the first 5 words are the most important. You're good in that regard for the most part. Keep up the good work. Yeah, I always do relist. Like I'll pick someone else's listing and list from there, and I'll only change the title if there's something like I really don't like new inbox or just irrelevant stuff. Generally, I don't change it, and that's probably to my detriment sometimes. But I love the 90s style website design of your store page. It gives it an old timey feel. If someone says your store looks dated, that's what they're talking about. Do you have
Well,
any
thank
comment
you.
on that? Or
No, no, thanks. It wasn't by design. It's just kind of the way it happened, I guess. I did put the beaver in there, the beaver image for being Canada.
I noticed this with your Nightmare on Elm Street 3 VHS. It kind of stretches because of the way your lens is so close. I find zooming in and moving your camera phone back gives you better, more true to real images if you need close up shots.
So what happened was, if I go into, I'm trying to think how it went. So if I go into my item, I seen it stretch, but I forget how I got there. But if I go to my store and look at my items, it doesn't look stretched. So I wonder what you're seeing.
Hmm.
Like, to see that it's stretched. So if I click, oh, how did that work? If I clicked something, all my items look stretched. But if I go to my store, my items do not look stretched. It's my listing, maybe. But if you're seeing it stretched too, I'd have to look in. I'll have to look at that again, because there was something where I go into and my items look stretched.
Oh, I never noticed that.
But if I go into my store, I'm
Mhm.
thinking, well, okay, this is what other people are seeing, and it's not stretched.
Yeah, I never come across this. So
Yeah.
my
So,
problem was when you're taking photos up close is that my camera kind of like shades what I'm trying to take a picture of. I haven't figured out a real solution to that. Like I'll
well,
change the brightness sometimes, but it'll like take out details. Like
so
if
I
I
know,
like
I know, I listed some.
pins are hard, you know.
Yeah, I listed some action figures. They were Creed, like I
Hmm.
think Assassin Creed action figures by
Hmm.
McFarlane, and they were all stretched. But when I go to my store, they weren't. So I thought, okay, maybe it's just part of my listing or something. Okay, Carl. So he's got one more line here where he said, adding more relevant item specifics is supposed to help eBay's search tool find your goods better. Uh, Here, let me finish it, and I got to go back to that. I'll help it show up in more searching because it can put you in more metadata categories. So, who really fills out all those boxes?
I don't
I don't. Like,
like.
if I'm copying somebody's, I'm that's sold already, usually a sold comp,
Yeah,
usually from somebody that's, a top rated seller type thing or 100% feedback. I'm hoping that they have already filled
me
out.
too. And I'm hoping they're half decently right.
Yes. So, the odd time I might change it, but it's because, like, maybe my date is a little bit different. Like, it's the same magazine, it's off by a month, or something, whatever. I'll go in and change it, but I mean, relative, like, usually it's should be all the same, right? So,
I get why they want to do that, but it's hurting cats if they're trying to get us to actually fill out all that information.
yeah,
Because
it is.
all it takes is one person in the loop in the serial of it to put in the wrong information, and then we probably repeat that bad information for the next 30
100%.
sales.
That, I'm going to use your term, 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
But no, for sure. As a general rating, I'd give you infinite beavers out of 10. Wow.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome. You know what? Doing it wrong, I have to say, just thinking about this, you took your time to go out of your way and look at
Yeah,
my store like that and give me
yeah.
feedback. Like, I appreciate that so much. You know what I mean? So,
That's really awesome. Yeah.
a big high five, heavy thanks. Thank you so much for doing that. And you were probably looking at your death pile and said, you know what? I'd rather take a look at Scott's store
Yeah.
than list another item, because we've all been there. But no, honestly, thank you so much for, I thank all you guys for taking your time out and doing the comments and stuff. But that's just to go and look through the store and give me some comments and some advice.
Yeah.
A big thanks.
Yeah, your pictures are great. Like when I look at your store, the thing that really stands out for me is your pictures. They always look good.
Well, I appreciate that, Carl. I do try to make sure that they are like lit and zoomed in.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm sure, like, probably I should be filling more of those things out. There's a lot more things I could do. I'm definitely going to take the advice of the 5 first words of my title. Like, I'm not going to go back, but going
Yeah.
forward, I'm going to try to really make sure that those, little things like that. I'll go back and read this later on, but there are little things that I want to try to tweak. Is there things that you like to tweak?
Ugh.
Like if you go back and you say, okay, things that you did wrong, like in a title, like in the listing process. I'm not just talking about picking and all that. I'm just talking about just listing on eBay. Is there things that you like, holy cripes, why did I not do this before? Like, or I'm going to be doing this going forward type thing?
I'm really bad. I just copy and paste whatever someone else has. Like, I will take the title and make sure everything's correct. But I do once in a while get a message from someone saying, like, this model you have here is wrong. And I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't even check that. Or I had the wrong thing. I make mistakes all the time in the titles, and I never look at my old listings. So they're probably chock full of errors, but I never even look and just assume they're not selling because no one wants it. So really,
it could be an error.
yeah, I should really go through and make sure my store is good, but
Like, okay, so one of the things Carl and I have talked about in the past is AI. But do you think there's, like, eBay will bring in AI eventually that maybe goes and doubles check that stuff? It kind of has its,
yeah, I can see
you know
that.
what I mean? It could have a way of confirming all your stuff. Like, put it this way, if I do something wrong just by filling out a label, a shipping label,
Yeah,
right? If the address is wrong or something like that, I know that's not AI, that's just, simple, I don't know, computer stuff. But, it's really no difference than having AI go in and check all your information to make sure it matches up with what they pull off the internet and all this kind of other stuff. Like, do you think there would be stuff like that eventually?
yeah, more sophisticated error checking. I could see that happening. Yeah,
Right. So that we don't make mistakes.
I would just like them to use the AI on their search algorithm a bit better. But yeah, so we don't make mistakes. Yeah, I think this eventually will be there, but like a lot of that, when you code, you already do stuff to make sure you're trying to make it so people don't make errors. Like,
Yeah.
postal codes. Like, it's checked before it lets you enter it to make sure you've actually entered a proper one. So if we can, we do that.
Yeah.
But it
Like,
could
I
be
think,
like I could see like eventually. I'm not sure. Like, it could say like, "Oh, Carl's address changed. He has the wrong address here compared to everywhere else in the world. We should confirm that," like that sort of thing. And it doesn't do that now, right? So I could see stuff like that maybe.
yeah.
But like the thing is, like, Google image is really AI in a way, isn't it? Like, where it determines it's not AI in terms of like it's thinking for itself, but it kind of has some aspects of that, I guess. So that could get a lot more sophisticated. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Huh.
not sure. I'm not sure what's going to happen with all that, right? Oh,
Oh,
everyone take a drink. Cheers.
oh. 1968 Mark's friction tin little car.
Oh,
$65.
nice.
And it is a watermelon driver. Have you ever seen these? I just picked this up. I just listed it a couple days ago.
Nice. I sold a $6 calculator. Oh, no, I've never seen that. Oh,
It's
that's
a
funny.
tin little friction toy.
Oh, wow.
Oh, hang on.
That's cool. I never seen that. It looks like a car with a watermelon driving it. That's what.
Yeah. So there's corn. The actual characters are on the side of the car. So this one, there's corn and banana and
Yeah.
watermelon.
Okay.
How they get corn, I have no idea. Unless sometimes the corn looks. No, the corn is on the back. Yeah. So so on the side is the watermelon, and then on the back is the corn. Or sorry, on the side is the banana, the back is the corn, and then the driver is the watermelon.
Hilarious.
Yeah. $65. Hilarious.
Yeah.
So, and that's a decent shape. It does have a few minor imperfections like scratches or scuffs, but for the most part, it's pretty clean.
Sweet.
Yeah. Um, but it's a Mark's toy, so there you go.
Sweet. Mark's. Yeah, I'm sure people know about it, but
Yeah. Uh, anyways, there we go. So, what were we at, Carl?
so the next one, doing it wrong again.
Okay.
Okay, trash talk time. Not actually trash talk, just personal perspective. I think the guy you guys,
Yep.
I think the guy you were talking about is Polish Pete.
I think so too.
He was probably the algorithm guy on Bearded Pickers podcast.
Yep.
All of those folks telling you BS about Pi Krolov and whatever eBay's AI tool are feeding you garbage that they themselves don't have half a clue about.
Well, that was kind of my point. I'm not saying they're feeding us garbage, but I don't know if they're feeding us the correct stuff either. So I don't think people like those people I was talking about should have went and took down their 2,000 listings. Is my point. So
Yeah, this is me freaking out when I got upset about like all the misinformation out there. So it's misinformation at best. None of them I've heard understand contextual machine deep learning, how they implement AI or neural nets, or even what constitutes metadata. Do not base your entire business on someone who doesn't know what they're talking about. Why are you listening to us? I feel bad for the folks realigning their entire business based on a misinformed understanding. Yes. I think it's okay to listen to stuff and then make your own decisions, but just people prefer to have an answer, even if it's incorrect, than having no answer at all. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah,
That's what
no,
I
for sure.
find.
Yeah, I mean, I like to listen to people's opinions because I think I learn from it. I think I learn from listening to people, especially if people have different views than me. I really find it interesting. I can still say, "Hey, you're wrong. You're out to lunch." We say that about each other all the time, Carl.
Oh yeah, I say that about
Right?
you. Yeah, all the time.
Well, I still enjoy. Well, Carl's right twice a day, like a broken clock.
Well,
So I
yeah,
got to
yeah.
pick up on those two right things, right?
Well, I
Like,
was right today, if I recall correctly, about something. So there you go. You
so,
never
but
did say I was right, though. You just kind of weaseled away along the
I don't
sides
know
of
what you're
something.
talking about. I'll have to go back
Uh-huh.
and check that out.
Someone has to go back to history class, people.
But I, so I find it interesting, and sometimes people can maybe not have 100% of the truth, but maybe they're onto something 20% of it, and the
Yeah.
rest of it you just kind of like watch and figure out. I'm not
That's
saying
even
in this
worse in a
case, but
way. Because you hear the 20% and you like, go, that's right. So the rest of the stuff they say must be right.
well, that's what I don't do, right? And
Yeah.
like I try not to do anyway.
Well, you just assume the rest is right. It's like it's a technique where you put in a lie amongst a bunch of truth, and people will think that lie was truth because everything else you said was true. I'm not saying this
or
is the case here. I'm just saying in
or the
general.
reverse. You throw in something misinformation around something true.
That's what I meant to say.
Like yeah, like the both ways,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Mm-hmm.
both types of misleading things can happen. Um, and I think maybe it's just my nature, but I'm always trying to like, okay, that's a neat idea. Let me look into that. You know what I
It
mean?
just gets me frustrated when like I'll hear things like once you reach X amount of sales, eBay will slow down your store and you won't be able to sell, they'll slow down your sales for the next week or two. And it's like, A, why on earth would they do that? And B, it'd probably be against like some type of agreement. Like if you we're paying to have our listings on their store. If they have a policy of hiding our stuff and making us pay and they get caught, they're going to be deep doo-doo because it's a service we're paying for that they haven't disclosed that they're doing that. Now, who knows?
I've never searched for my product and not find it.
Yep, exactly. Meaning neither have I. But people say that, oh, my store is hidden. And it's like I go and look, I can see your store. I can see these items that you're talking about. Well,
However,
yeah.
however,
Oh, I talked too soon.
I have seen things that I thought were listed, not listed.
Oh, I have yes.
So
Yes. Me too.
does that mean I made a mistake or is it just disappeared somewhere in
I'm
the
not sure.
cloud, and I got to go
I
relist it.
I believe that, and I think it's bad programming, to be honest. Because
So
I have definitely come across that. Like when I finished now, but there was a while when I was going through all my bins to combine them, and I found lots of, like, I would take everything in out of the box, right?
yeah,
Look up the SKU number, and there was almost always something in that box where the SKU number where it doesn't exist on eBay. Like all the time. Like I wasn't even shocked. So that I think their system is dropping listings sometimes. That I 100% believe.
yeah.
I don't
So
think it's hiding them. They're just gone.
they're just gone. They're just gone. So
And sometimes the inverse happens too, where it's like it's still listed and I sold it again. But I put those are really rare, and I think those actually come down to user error or wetware problem, I like to say.
I don't even know what that is.
Wetware your brain.
It's like,
I think it's just a nice way to say you screwed up.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know. So they might have an element of truth there, and some of it's not. I get it. I get it. Like I get what you guys are saying for sure. I just okay. Let me just put it this way.
Uh-oh.
And I said this last time.
Okay.
If you list, you're gonna sell.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
List consistently, sell consistently. Every single time I stop listing for whatever reason, I know I'm busy. Okay, it is, but I still stop listing. eBay doesn't care why I stop listing. If I stop listing, my sales slow down.
This is not fresh inventory. That's the answer. Fresh inventory always sells better than anything else.
But I'm going to go beyond the fresh inventory. I don't disagree with you, but even when I sell inventory now, things that I've listed even 6 months or less or more starts popping up. People, I'm sending there's watchers on it. I'm sending them deals.
Oh God, I haven't done that in a while. Yeah.
Or I'm sending deals all the time. Or they just sell something, right? Like that's been listed a year ago. Bowling ball, my Indian silk screen print, native silk screen print. Like those things have been listed 6 months, maybe a year ago or so. The bowling ball, I think, was a year and a half ago. Like, so
yeah, that's still going to happen naturally too, right?
Right.
It's hard to associate that with listing new stuff.
All I'm saying is that if you keep your eBay store active by constantly listing, in my opinion, I don't have anything to back this up other than, hey, it seems to work. But if I'm constantly putting stuff up, I'm consistently getting sales.
Yeah.
So other than that, I really don't know.
Can't hurt.
Yeah.
Listing can't hurt, But also, when you list stuff nowadays too, the difference is you're probably listing better stuff than you were 5 years ago or whenever, just because you have more experience now, right?
All the time, and it's more relevant. Like maybe back a year and a half ago, that was like, wow, that's really cool and relevant and neat, and look at this listing. But now it's
no
gone with the way of Funko Pops, and it's like nobody cares, right?
There's that too, yeah.
But I do find old listings have still been selling or popping up, or people are interested in them for whatever reason. Like, because I was listing heavily, especially the toy soldiers, when I started slowing down on them, my sales started slowing down, right? So I just think personally it makes sense, but I think there's something to it, whether it's algorithms or it's just the fact that you're putting more stuff up, whatever the case is, list consistently, sell consistently. Every once in a while, like maybe once a year, once every 18 months, go into your store, do an inventory check, kind of revamp your store. That's probably a good idea,
Can't hurt.
And then you keep on top of it, keep things clean and tidy and out the door. Like, so if you got bad pictures because you take better pictures now than you did a year and a half ago, tidy up those pictures. I'm not saying you have to, but I mean, if you want to sell it, I mean, those are little things that you have to do, right? So, I don't know. Do you agree, Carl?
I agree with that. Like, I don't do it very often, though. Honestly, I'm a list it and forget it kind of person, but.
Or I got 14 views on this thing. It hasn't sold. I'm going to delist it because the algorithms don't like me. What do you think of
Yeah,
that idea?
yeah.
I don't like that idea. I'm being
No.
sarcastic on that one.
Like my biggest issue right now is like I said, like listings disappearing. And I could go through my store and look. You know what? I probably should, but I don't want to.
Well, here's
Like
another thought. Like,
like your
okay,
most
we're gonna
valuable, if you're going to spend your time, the most valuable thing you can do, in my opinion, is list more stuff, list fresh stuff, list stuff that's in demand. It's a lot more valuable than going through your store. But honestly, that's easy enough said. And sometimes it's good just to change a task once in a while to something else, and maybe you should go through once in a while. I did my accounting today; it was boring as hell, but I didn't want to list. So
Well, the only reason I say go through the store is because you're going to have stuff that's taken up inventory. I know the concept of, you've already done the work, so why take it out? I get that, but maybe knock it down a few notches in price, or do something. I mean, even the theory of you can end the listing and then sell similar, even do something like that for a few items or whatever the case is. I think if you go through it and kind of act on it and kind of keep it tidy and neat and in order, that's probably, it's not going to have a negative effect. It's gonna have neutral or positive.
yeah,
But
that's the way I see it too.
but if you got things in there, like I use the example of that gremlin, like, why am I waiting for that $30 buy when I can just take it out, throw it in the booth, in a week it's going to be gone for $20? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
I
it
guess it
sells
depends on how
differently.
much physical it's room taking up at home, right? Like my
Well,
bins now.
does it, or is it just like, okay, listen, that's depreciating now, so it's time I go and get my money back and take that money and go buy something,
I guess so. Like
right?
I hear those arguments, and I don't really find that like it's not really the $30 that you have invested; it's the $5 you paid for it, right? And
Or probably nothing, in to be
yeah,
honest.
so it's not
But
like you have a lot of money invested in that item. Like I
how
understand the concept, like you get that $20 and flip that $20, but honestly, for me, what's holding me back is not money to buy more stuff. Like if you give me that extra $20, it just gets thrown in a pile. It's
no,
not
I
like
for sure. Sorry.
no, go ahead. I can
No,
see you're
I
trying to
wasn't. I
you're
mean, I
saying
use
something
that
else.
as like to complete the sentence. You can take that money and go buy a hot dog or Tim
Mm,
Hortons coffee. I don't care what you use for, but I'm
right.
just saying if it's sat there for so long, and I'm not saying this is right. Like sometimes it could be right, sometimes it could be wrong. But the bowling ball, it would have been wrong. But I'm not going to take that bowling ball and set it in the booth and get instead of 250, I'll get 200. I'll be lucky to get $30 out of the booth on that bowling ball,
Yeah, exactly. So I
right?
guess it depends on the
It
item. It's
depends on the item
not
and
black
what it
and
is.
white. Yeah.
But why wait for that $30 buy where I'm going to have to package it and everything? I should just be taking that item, put it in the booth for $20. It's probably where it should have went to begin with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I know I'm a little bit different because a lot of people don't have booths and stuff like that. But if you have another way of dealing with some of that stuff, like if I had, like I'm not going to delist it and then take it to the Valley Village and
That's what I
donate.
do. I have.
No, no, because I think there's value there, right? So I
Yeah.
have
At
the
some
option of the
point.
booth, so I'll put it in a booth.
Yeah, but sometimes like the stuff I've delisted is so crappy I don't even want to take it to the booth. Like it's
Yeah,
really being stuff that should never have ever have gone up there in the first place.
yeah,
And you could argue, well, you've already done the work, just keep it up. But at the same time, I didn't really want to sell it either because it wasn't really even like after the fees and everything, I'm be making a buck. I'd rather just like get rid of it and dump it. Like I don't, out of the 5 years I've had my store, or 6 years, whatever the hell it is, I've only done that once or twice. I
yeah.
don't exactly purge that often. And it felt kind of good to get rid of the stuff and have a more realistic idea of actually what I have on my eBay store. Because now the items that I have left are much better quality ones. So the ratio is much better, and
Right.
I don't think, I have 2,000 listings. I don't have 2,000 listings, but I can be
But
like, I have 2,000 listings, but like, 800 of 1,800 of them are crap, right? It can be a little confusing to you, like, what's going on. Like your store feels a crap over a long time, I think.
I think everything does. I know the booth
It's
does
like your hot
too.
water tank. It gets filled with like crap at the bottom eventually, and you have to clear it out once in a while.
But it's like, but one man's crap is another guy's treasure. Like it's
Well, they can have it at the Value Village near me because that's where it's going to show up.
because I'm going to kind of harp on this gremlin. Like
Okay.
it's a cute little vintage figure. Everybody loves gremlins,
Yeah.
but if it's 100%, like if it's marked up twice of what it's worth, I mean, you're not going to sell it because it's too high priced, but it's still valuable. You know, if you got nothing or a
Yeah.
dollar into it and you can get 15 to $20 for it, why take it to Value Village? Why throw it away? Why just, I have a store, I can put it in a store. The other option is, hey, I've got like 10 toys here that really don't, I'm just going to lot them up, put a toy lot, a vintage toy lot, you know, that's another option. Like there's different options you can do.
Yeah. And I haven't done it in a while, but usually what I used to do is do price drops just to make sure that $20 gremlin that's really worth whatever, $10
Yeah.
isn't sitting at 20 forever. Because I'll just like every once in a while, all my old listings, I'll just drop by 10%. I'll end and relist, drop it by 10% at the same time until it's gone.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's not there forever, ever. But and the stuff I purged was all stuff like under $10. Although I had one thing today that sold, but I'm not sure why I kept that around, but I did. It sold, damn it. But whatever.
But anywho, kind
Okay.
of rambling on there, I guess, but uh what's so I so that was it, right? So now what are we on to?
So there's two left from doing it wrong and one from Randy. Which
Okay. So you pick one because I just read one.
okay, doing it wrong. Scott, tell the toy soldier whale that the big deal you did with him was to recoup a part of what you invested in them. Be honest about it. We should have read this earlier because this was relevant to us talking about this. Anyways, be honest about it. Tell him you'd be a fool to offer such a large discount for everything. You appreciate the business, but the finances don't make sense. If you explain your end of the business, a lot of folks will understand and act accordingly. If you get salty, then F them and get them all listed, man. Burn through them. Christmas is coming.
Yes, you are correct again. But let me just kind of go through this here. I don't want to lose it as a whale. I just want to, instead of him cherry picking for me, I want to cherry pick his money. Like I want to pick what he's going to buy. Listen, you're going to buy these. These
Yeah,
ones you're not buying.
yeah, exactly. What?
Like it sounds like really foolish as a seller, but that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And this could all backfire. Maybe I should just be straight up. Say, listen, I got a bunch of these things. I got to get some money out of them. I bought them. Now I got to try to recoup some of that. No, makes complete sense. I
I'd just
just
be
don't.
honest and say you're trying to get more higher value for the ones I have left. And
Yeah,
just leave it as that. And
yeah.
if he says, well, what do you want? Then add an extra $10 or whatever to each one above what you were asking for, or whatever you feel comfortable with.
I might just say a percentage. I might just say, listen, I can do like 20% off.
Yeah, and
If
maybe he'll
if
be
you're gonna
fine with
buy
that,
a bunch, maybe I'll do
dude.
25% off or something like that. But like it's funny because it's not just a black and white. This guy is like he's like okay. So here's how it goes. He's got 20. Let's just say he picks out 20, right? He goes, how much for shipping? And I'll say, well, I can ship all these like this. Let's say I'm going to do a flat rate. He goes, so send me an invoice and I'll give him a flat rate of $25 shipping for I don't know, let's say 10, right? So he goes, well, can I throw a couple more in there after I send him the invoice? Well, okay, a couple more. He goes, well, I'm interested in these ones too. Can I get these at a deal? Right? Like I could do $30. And now I'm like, okay, so the guy's spending like $300. Why don't I just give him a couple more? You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, it's kind of wash and repeat. And I'm like,
Wait a second.
yeah, right? Like, wait, like you just wanted a few of them. And now I'm like, I just
Yeah,
sold you a
yeah,
ton of them.
yeah,
Right. And I'm
yeah.
like, and then this is kind of what I said last time too is, and then, it's the one was so heavy, and I just had a gut feeling that a few were gonna break. I don't think he's lying about it, but he goes like, "You give me such a good deal, you know what? I'm not gonna complain about it. That's fine. I can fix them." So I'm like, okay, well now he wants to buy more. He's being very reasonable on the broken ones. I mean, he could complain. I asked, I said I'd reimburse him. He's saying
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, now what do I do?
Now
So
you
then
feel
he,
guilty, or like
like,
you
yeah, like
owe
now I'm
him.
like, well,
This guy's a
now
master at this stuff, isn't he?
I'm like, now who's the ass? Am
Yeah.
I being an ass by not complying to his demands? You
I,
know
I
what I
I
mean?
get where you're coming from.
So
Yeah.
so I thought, okay, this time I'm gonna do it. Just let it go. I think he bought 8. And then he wanted more. And I said, I'm not listing anymore because of Canada Post. Right. So then he goes, well, and then a couple days went by. He goes, send me an invoice. So and he double speaks. He double talks. Like, send me an invoice, but can I buy more if I want? And I'm like, yes. What ones do you want? And then he doesn't reply for 3 days. You know what I mean? That kind of crap. So I'm like, and then he'll say, well, eBay wants me to make a decision. Do you want to cancel it because of Canada Post, or do you want to send me an invoice? And I'm like, I'll send you an invoice, right? And then he's like, well, can I add more? And I'm, well, which ones do you want? Like, tell me so I can. Yes, you can add more, but which ones? And then not
I
so.
hate
So
communicating.
another 2 days went by. I sent him the invoice, and he just paid it.
Yeah, who knows what's going on?
So I'm like,
I know.
so is he sitting there waiting for this invoice saying, what the hell's wrong
This
with
guy's
this
in your
guy?
head. This guy's
Like, yeah,
totally in
like I
your
don't
head.
like don't double talk it. Just if you want more, tell me you want more. If you don't want more, I'll send you the invoice right now. Okay. What? You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like, well, like,
Yeah, I
okay,
know.
what?
I know. Yeah, I know what you mean.
You didn't answer the question, dude.
I know. I know.
It's like, yeah. Yeah, you ever run into people like that?
I
Like,
all the time. That's entire my entire life is that, and
right?
I
And
don't understand any of them. And
especially if it's a boss, right? And
and
then
I,
they
I
like,
I know, I know.
yeah,
And they rant and rave. Even my brother-in-law was flipping out his boss for the same thing because his boss wouldn't answer the bloody question. If I like, why aren't you answering? Answer the damn question.
yeah.
And this is the quietest, like most polite kid. But he had enough
Oh
of
my
his
god.
boss one day not answering the bloody question.
So I went to Harvard College, law security in my 20s, obviously. So right out of college, I got a job doing security at a hotel. It was a very large hotel. It was we our boss was a retired Toronto police officer, like really good guy, right? Like staff inspector. He was like he knew a lot of people. Cops were over all the time, so we're meeting all like. Anyway, we won't get into it too much. But one of his little tricks, if you had a question and he didn't want to answer it, right? Old like he's a Scottish guy, right? So he's hey, let's go and have a smoke. So I didn't smoke, he did. So he'd get out there. Okay, so what's wrong? What's going on? So he'd light the smoke. You asked him a answer, the answer, and he goes, dude, he took 2 puffs of the smoke. He goes, good talk. Put it out, walk back into the side. Like, what are you like? You didn't answer the question. Like, basically, go figure it out. I can't be bothered. You know, he's sitting there reading the newspaper. Like that would happen all the time. Like you do it to everybody,
I know that would
right?
drive me freaking nuts.
It's
I
a
would
good
not work
talk.
well with that personality.
But 2 puffs of this, oh,
Because
good talk.
I've been accused of being too direct, and that's because I want the answer. I don't want anything to fluff around it.
Oh my god, he
Straight
didn't
to
even
business.
answer it though. He just got a
I
good talk.
know.
Oh my god, he
Him
was
was
so funny.
great. He didn't have to answer anything.
But we get along pretty good actually. Uh, Brett's mom I was with at the time, anyways. We went down with him and his wife to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a
Well,
good guy. It was
yeah,
just
it's
old
just
cop style, right? Just
yeah.
yeah, good talk. Go figure it out. Don't bother me, kid. But those were good fun days. Yeah. So you finished that one.
Right.
Get them all listed. Burn them. Burn through them. Christmas is coming. Okay. Well, I got Randy here.
Okay.
Okay. Nova Scotia Cal. This is Randy. Hey, Scott and Carl. Funny you were talking about the dogs barking in the background. When I was just about to comment, I hear banging on the steel roof of my garage. It's the crows demanding to be fed. I
Really?
can't even, I can
They,
just, I can see that.
oh wow.
Randy, how I don't even. I can just see Randy out in his old shed with the bar with the steel roof and the
You're
old
feeding
crows.
crows. Okay.
Just one of the joys of working for oneself. You know what? I was thinking about the other day, Randy. Like it might have been as today. Like what a great job. Just um, my son got laid off. Like so, he's looking for another job, but he's helping me out right now. So I got him doing a bunch of stuff at home. I went and picked up some stuff that I had bought before, and we're sitting there shooting, and I'm just like, you know what? If I was working at Toyota, I'd be miserable, 10-hour shift,
Yeah.
same. Yeah, I mean, I got along with the guys and stuff, but it's the same people every single day. You know what I mean? And like, I'm sitting here having a conversation, looking at some old stuff. This is awesome. I'm going to
Yeah.
take this stuff, and it's
Yeah.
just, it's
It's a
really,
luxury. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good way to is it what's that saying? It's a easy way to make a hard living or a hard way to make an easy living. Well, I don't know, one of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Like you got to put a lot of hours and time in it, but in a lot of ways, the time it doesn't feel like work. You know what I mean? Like
It's good that you took your hobby, turned it into your main job, and you're not sick of it.
yeah,
Because that's what
yeah,
happens to a lot of people, right?
right. So yeah, no, I was thinking about that. I was just like, wow, this is just great. So I'm glad to see Randy kind of feeling the same way. I get a kick out of listening to you two arguing with. Yeah, I get a kick out of us arguing as well. When you two argue with both are basically saying the same thing.
Communication, we're bad at it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, I think we've even kind of made the same comment in the past about how like we don't really hear each other's conversation. It's a little harder when you're doing the podcast because you're thinking of the next thing to say.
Hmm.
You're kind of thinking of how the audience is going to react to certain things. Like you're always checking your future comments, but while you're listening to the present comment, thinking about past comments, it's kind of like a circly thing. So sometimes I just don't hear Carl. You know what I mean? It's just you
What?
do the same,
What are you
right?
talking about?
Yeah. Who are you? What are you
What
saying?
the Canada Post is a nice comment. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And that's what's interesting about hearing it back. Sometimes it's like you didn't listen at all.
Well,
Me. Like you
we've even
me.
kind of
I didn't
commented
listen at
about
all.
like how did we get through life? Like how many misinformation type conversations do we
I'm sure
have
it happens all the time.
all the time?
Yeah.
Hopefully, Canada Post doesn't strike because I just mailed out a few things Friday. I do see UPS is giving very good rates right now. Thanks again, Randy. Uh, I spoke to I kind of heard this before, but I confirmed it, I guess. But I spoke to the lady at the post, and she says once they give that notice that they're going on strike, it's 72 hours anyways before they're actually going to strike.
Yep.
So I think most things are going to have a really good chance of getting to their destination. I mean, he's out in the East Coast, so if it's going to the West Coast, probably it wouldn't. But if it's going to go to the U.S., it probably will make it, right?
Once it's
Because they're
across the
not on
border, it's
strike.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
And also, like, doesn't mean complete stoppage. It might be like slowdowns and stuff, but
yeah,
don't know
might
that.
be a delay. But and then you just pivot at that point. But until that point gets here, I think you just carry on, business as
We don't
usual.
have control over it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna freak out at or use it as an excuse not to sell more toy soldiers.
Well, it's a combination of that and this other guy. Like, there's two things. I'm thinking I'm going to take advantage of this Canada Post thing because I can still list other things. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Yeah,
still
yeah.
listing. It's just, it's not going to be as many and as quick, and it's not going to be those soldiers. So, and I'm still selling, although I haven't sold in a few days, but I still have them in the booth, so I can still like sell a few toy soldiers. Anyway, all
So
right,
one
Carl.
last comment from doing
All
it
right.
wrong.
Yep.
Carl, if you wear a top hat, you should go the whole way. Vest and suit with tails. When shoppers are around, shout out like a carnival presenter. Step right up, step right up. Great bargains to be found here. Find something for your boo. Find something for you. Try some sales showmanship. Yeah, that's great. I'm going to take that advice.
I think he's talking from experience here. That's pretty good. He
Oh,
must like
maybe.
a circus performer or something.
Maybe. So, yes. I'll do that in a few years. we'll see if I can still be at this bloody booth and after January. Anyways, I want some money rolling in. But thank you everyone for the
Oh,
comments.
oh, oh, oh. I
What?
almost forgot Spotify.
Oh, Spotify.
We got 2 comments on Spotify.
Oh, did we lose any more subs?
No, I think we gained one
Oh,
on.
gained one back. Oh, sweet.
No, I didn't check Spotify for the subs, but I think we gained one on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I
I
think
think we're
yeah.
107 now.
Wow.
Oh, they're very quick. You know, they're very one-liners over on Spotify. They're not novels. we can rev through these very quickly. So 5 days ago, Adam. So you know what, guys? I just checked the previous. Like, I don't know if people are leaving comments like 5 or 6 shows ago or not. I'm only
On
getting. I'm only
YouTube
picking
or
up.
Spotify?
Well, kind of both. I think
Right.
Spotify is going to show me any comments
Okay.
because I think you have to okay them and publish them, which I'm going to publish anything anyway. But definitely YouTube. I only check, and I think you probably do too. You just check the upcoming show or the last show, right?
Yeah. No. I wouldn't. I don't get I get notified for comments. I think
Oh,
on
that's
my
true.
channel, but I know you. This is under you, so no. And I just look at the latest show. I don't go back for sure.
Yeah. So I hope we don't miss anybody. But for the most part, we just kind of whatever was relevant, like whatever questions were from the previous show, is the ones we read on the next show. Just so you guys know, I hate to miss anybody, and they think we're just skipping them. And sometimes on YouTube, they just disappear.
Yeah, I was looking at a channel today that had one comment, and there's no comments at all.
Yeah.
Not from us, but for someone else, and say, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
So anyways, I'll read these quick one-liners. First is Tina Mack. She had a comment here. Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to read the other one first because she actually comments on the first comment. So the first one was from Adam Wakefield. Ring a bell?
Is that our Adam?
Adam Wakefield. That's not our Adam. So I got a drinking game. Take a shot every time Scott says, know what I mean? Wow.
Perfect.
Regardless, love the show. Awesome. Well, thank you, Adam.
Hey, thanks, Adam.
And you know, I think we could do a drinking game. You know what I mean?
Except you don't drink.
I do drink. I don't drink more than 2 because I'll be out like a light. Makes me go to sleep. But could have a drinking game every. Adam must be a young guy. I don't know.
Why? Because he.
Who's the what's his
that.
name over on the Scott Sell Stuff show on Sundays? Secondhand Maple. He likes to drink and have fun too. Oh, let's drink, guys. Let's drink.
I always have it like if I do the cheers, I always at least have something I'm drinking, but probably not always alcohol. But I try to because it's more fun for me when that happens. I think it's hilarious.
This is probably Secondhand Maple. This is probably like his real name.
That's the problem when you don't know people's names, right?
Yeah, he doesn't know Secondhand Maple, so this is probably him. I'm just thinking, you know what? This sounds like it could be him. I don't know.
Everyone's name should be in their like in the avatar's name, just so to make life easier.
So Tina Mack responds to that. Adam, what's so funny about it is that Scott said it a lot now Carl says it he never did before. Well,
yeah, you pick up on that stuff off each other, right?
Yeah, I'll just, you know what I mean? But that's 100%. What she says.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 100%. But it's funny because we read the comments the last show. We read the comments after we had talked about our week and all our stuff. So, obviously, when we do the show before the editing, like, we hear okay, now we know, okay, I got to watch when I say, you know what I mean? Because now they're picking. But I didn't know that at the beginning, the first hour of the show when we were just talking. So then when you go back and listen to it after we had, I'm like, holy crap, I really do say a lot, right? Because I said it so much that show, and then we get to the comments and they're like talking about me saying it in the previous show. But anyway, so I must say that a lot.
It's like filler in a way.
Yeah. And now I'm catching myself do that a lot more.
It's like ums and ahs. It's like
filler. I think this one is just to see if you're paying attention. You know what I mean?
100%.
because you're kind of asking the question just to make sure, like,
Well, yeah, it's kind of acknowledgement of like you're listening, or like I
yeah,
heard what you said. Like I'll say, okay, yeah, sounds good. Even though like I'm just interspacing those because I want you to know that I'm actually am listening to what you're saying.
yeah.
Right? And instead of just being silent.
But we are doing this over a stream, and you're like the size of a toonie. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So I can't really see too much of your facial expressions, or if you're
Mm.
nodding, or if you're sleeping, or what. I don't know what's going on. So I think I do that just to make sure that we're
Connected.
still
Yeah.
in in a
Sync. Yeah.
conversation, and I'm
Yeah.
not just
Conversation.
rambling and making you sleep. Whew, so we got through all of those,
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for commenting, as always.
as always, and it's awesome. It's become half the show now, which
Well,
is
doing it
great.
wrong went all out and like did that store review. That
Yeah,
was great.
yeah.
That was great.
And I know he put in there that you don't have to read this, but I think it's important to read it and just kind of, we let the audience know kind of where we're coming through with these conversations. So I appreciate it. It's interesting to get his feedback on that, right? So I mean, there wasn't much criticism at all, but I mean, constructive criticism is how I learn. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
like to hear people's feedback. It doesn't have to be good. Don put there the one time about the volume at the beginning and the end. It's like, if
Yeah,
I
hopefully
don't
the
hear that
volume's good now.
feedback, I don't fix it. Other people might not say anything, but they might not listen to us because they don't like that,
No. And that's something
So,
I'm conscious about when I drive. It's like, oh, because I have to be really careful with this mic, right? Because if I get too close, it gets right, or it gets
yeah.
too loud, and
Like, I think the worst thing to do is just people say they're the mother, yes, that was great. Good job. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
I don't want that.
I don't want that. I want, like, if we can do something to improve, let us know for sure. And I'm doing it wrong was very complimentary in a lot of things, but there's a lot of little things that can just make little improvements that can make a big difference, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
do appreciate that. I will go through, probably not go through my whole store with it, but I will definitely go forward, kind of consciously start looking for places like that I can tweak, like he mentioned. So very much appreciated for sure. Anything before we call it, Carl?
No, I think that's it. I have nothing really else to add.
Do we want to take up Tina Mac's suggestion of doing a bolo show next week?
Oh, Bolo show.
Well, I have a question. Let's not do it this week because hopefully Tina Mac can answer this question before we do it. When you want a bolo show, are we showing, because let's just say a bolo could be cameras, but there's multiple cameras and they're different, or are we looking for like, here's like something you should look for that is really hard to find, you probably don't know about it, but if you see it, but you might see it once or twice in your life. Like,
That's
is
the
that
thing.
the
It's
type
like,
of bolo, or do you want
yeah,
a bolo like, here's a kind of bread and butter? You go like, what kind of bolo are you? Something like something really rare that we found and accidentally realized there's value there. You
yeah.
know what
There's
I
different
mean?
type of bolos. Like your Sunday night is kind of like, I know she doesn't watch YouTube, but your Sunday night is kind of like that. It's a bolo show, really, in a way, right? Because each showing 5 items that you found, and they are kind of bolos. But there's
Yeah,
also different types of bolos, in terms of
yeah.
how rare something is. Like
I
some
guess I
bolos are
never
you gonna,
looked.
you
Sorry,
know,
Carl.
like scrubbing bubbles is kind of like one of those bolos. It used to be, right?
Yeah,
Like you're gonna find this once in a while. It's a good seller. Be on the lookout for it.
like I find the Sunday show is not for me. Like, I don't. You guys show whatever you want, but for me, I try to find something like. Tell me if I'm out to lunch, but I like to kind of show stuff. I have a different kind of picking. Like, a lot of people go out there and pick. They seem to pick like, and there's a lot of bolos that I don't even know about, and I learn from them all the time. But they kind of more into the more modern. They're kind of more mainstream type things, and I like going out there and finding these weird things. Not always the case, but like a mango board. I went to an auction. Nobody even knew what, I didn't know what it was. Nobody knew what it was. Scott, you take this for $5. You know what? I'm going to take it home for $5. and I'm going to figure it out. And here it is, about $125, $150. It's a mango board with a roller. They're primitive pieces. You know what I mean? Like, I try to show those things. Now and then it's a camera. Now and then it's something different. But like, it might be toy soldiers, which people know about. You know about Britons. That's not really. Is that a bolo? You know what I mean?
Really, no.
Like, it's kind of common knowledge, right?
Or
But I wouldn't
obvious.
say I wouldn't classify a mango board as a bolo, because you're very rarely going to. But I would say one of those mad balls is a bolo.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, I agree with that.
Right? But is old watches a bolo? Well, probably not. But if you see an old watch that
you might have a bolo brand, like
you might have a bolo brand, like you might have like
whatever.
that military watch that was handed out to. It's a Gruen. It had the 12-hour time, and then it had the 24-hour time, and it was actually a military watch handed to the Pan Am pilots that would fly the soldiers over to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But they were given to the Pan Am pilots, and it's a kind of a 24-hour. It's considered a military watch. $400 parts and repair. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And it sold like within a day. Like, it sold so quick. So is that a bolo, or do I generalize it into watches? Like, what? Yeah. So let us know what you're saying for a bolo, and kind of like rare stuff that you'll possibly find if you're looking for it. Or do you want like weird stuff? Like, let us know. Let us know. Everybody can let us know. But Tina Mac did actually have that as a suggestion for a topic. So Perfect. I definitely like to hear from her.
Sounds good.
And what do you think on that, Carl?
No, I think that's good. Like, it's kind of, there's different bolos, like you just said, right? And it'd be more interesting, like, which kind of ones she's looking for. And we can add that, and maybe people will add their own bolos, and we talk about those too.
Yeah. Okay. Because bolos kind of it's kind of very vague, and I just don't
kind
want
of one off in one way. Like, if you're not careful, like,
yeah,
So
I just want to make sure we're on the same page and know what she's talking about. And there it is. All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone.
All right.
For listening.
Yeah, I thank everyone as well. And that'll do it for this week. We're on Spotify and we're on YouTube. We're here every Friday, and audio only. But leave a comment in either spot. So
perfect.
All right. Have a good week, Carl. Have a good week, everyone. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.